Everyone, let's all take a moment to say goodbye to Dragon Ball GT. With the impending return of the Dragon Ball Super anime knocking at our doors with multiverse bending, time traveling, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Ultra Instincting, it's getting harder and harder to believe that one day in the next few Dragon Ball years, Goku is gonna learn Super Saiyan 4 to trump all of that. Or at least this video was supposed to be a goodbye GT video. That was until so much conflicting evidence started to fizz to the top like the carbonation of a flat drink. Is Dragon Ball GT canon? If it is canon, can't it just be another timeline like Future Trunks is? Once I heard that Dragon Ball GT was all anime only and didn't have a manga for the longest, I was like, oh yeah, just throw that in the back with all the other anime only non-canon stuff. That was until official timelines owned by Akira Toriyama and Viz Media started coming out in recent years. But whoa, come on now, y'all. Y'all trying to tell me that the events of Dragon Ball Super, fighting Goku Black in the Trunks timeline, the Tournament of Power, and whatever the hell Jiren, Granola, and Broly are finna do, took place between the 5-year gap between Z and GT? Get from around me with all that nonsense, man. But as it turns out, it's all out there. There are major publications that want you to believe exactly that. So I tried to get to the bottom of all of this, but what I found is that the problem is in how we present the question. What do you think canon is? The creators, owners, or side publications coming out with timelines? Or what the original scribes have recorded in the ancient manga texts? Because that's where the conflict is really at. Where you won't have a conflict is enjoying this here video from the Bread Show, you feel me? I'm the Bread Show. I'm here bringing my anime opinions, gaming opinions, while also doing a little bit of gaming and anime to myself. Make sure y'all hit that like button for me. It really helped the channel out a lot. And then also let me know what your experience with Dragon Ball GT is, because I will get to mine experience later on in this video. And by the way, it was a positive one. Like I said before, Dragon Ball GT started out as anime only back in '96, shortly after the Dragon Ball Z manga was finished. And believe it or not, Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, had very little input outside of character designs and minor story changes. And side note, after hearing that fact about Akira not being really that involved, it was kind of hard for people to be all in for it anyways. They were going to be less inclined to like it. That's not exactly a good way to dress something up for rabid Dragon Ball fans a year after the manga ends. Hey yo, what y'all about to see is some shit we dreamt up last night type. The Dragon Ball GT manga actually came out later, but it was very anime centric. As a matter of fact, it was called the Dragon Ball GT anime comic. So it's not your traditional manga at all. It was just made to recount the events of what already happened in the anime. And actually, for a pretty long time, the publication of that manga was paused. And if I remember correctly, in 2023, it was resumed. So that's how recent this GT manga is. And of course, the Dragon Ball GT manga was not written by Akira Toriyama. Then, of course, time went by and Dragon Ball GT was just treated as an ugly stepchild by the whole entire Dragon Ball fan base, except for the people who really like GT. That was until the owners and creators of GT all reminded everybody that you can't treat their passion project like garbage. And now they're paying homage to it, coming out with a whole lot of timelines, and now we're all confused. Like I said, in recent years, they just started resuming the manga, and also in recent years, they're sliding Dragon Ball GT in a whole bunch of different conflicting timelines. But oh no, Viz Media, we catch everything around here at the Bread Show, so let me break it down for everybody to see. Welcome to the Is Dragon Ball GT Canon section of the video, where I will ask the question 3 separate times and present the evidence for yes, no, and maybe. So, is Dragon Ball GT canon? Yes, according to the Shueisha timeline that came out in 2017. Shueisha released a timeline in 2017 at a Dragon Ball festival where they were celebrating the return of Dragon Ball Super and everything like that. And they actually included Dragon Ball GT in the timeline. The way I found this out was through tweets, but actually finding the picture in the tweet is very hard because it's nearly gone. So I'm gonna find as many pictures as I can and I'm gonna show y'all. And if you're questioning the legitimacy of Shueisha, you should not, because Shueisha is the largest publishing company in Japan. It's been around for 99 years and will celebrate its 100th year next year in 2025. And Shueisha is the company that owns Viz Media, which owns Dragon Ball, and they share ownership with Toriyama's company that also owns Dragon Ball. So I would say this is a pretty legit source. The only question that I would have about this whole situation is because I said that Dragon Ball GT is anime only. And what I also said was Shueisha was the largest publishing company of the mangas and the books and everything. So just in my mind, I'm just spitballing here, you would think that Shueisha would not acknowledge the existence of Dragon Ball GT, seeing that it's anime only, but hey, that's neither here nor there. That was just a question that I found. You can have it now. Is Dragon Ball GT canon? No. Why? It doesn't have a manga. And we all know that generally manga defines canon. And if you didn't know this, you should. Toriyama was not really involved in GT as much as he was in Z. In Z, the manga, that was his work. In GT, that is not the case at all. While researching for this video, I found that some people said Akira Toriyama outlined the story, while other people said he didn't even do that. And come on, y'all, let's be real. There's been a lot of official timelines released for popular properties like Dragon Ball and all of them. There have also been a lot of official Dragon Ball power level rankings that we debunked in the power rankings video I made like a month ago. Something that has been proven many times in Dragon Ball especially is that what's printed in a magazine or whatever is not exactly as canon as they try to make it seem. Because no one believes that King Kai has a power level of only 3,000. And then finally, is Dragon Ball GT canon? Maybe. GT is set to 5 years after Z, and Super is set to immediately after Z. So if the events of Super don't last longer than 5 years, then really it's all good, technically, chronologically. But if the events of Super take place after those 5 years, then everything's cooked. But then again, this is my own theory here. In Super and in Z, we've explored the possibility of different timelines and different multiverses. So really, they could just they can clean all of this up really well. And I also know that there was a Dragon Ball Heroes special or something that did clean this up with the whole multiverses theories. But I definitely don't think that's canon, no. This would just all make sense that there was another multiverse or another universe in Super, and that's where all the GT stuff happened. And honestly, that makes the most sense. Because even in the last episode of Z, which is set a little bit after Z, weirdly enough, they kind of act like they haven't seen each other in the longest time, which would either make that not canon or everybody else stupid. I don't know. Like Dory from Finding Nemo with short-term memory loss, long-term memory loss at that. But let's spend some time to actually talk about GT. When people discuss Dragon Ball GT, the main thing people talk about is the music. It was updated and it had bangers. Not to mention that some of the transformations they had were the best in the whole series. And then had the most heart-wrenching ending, maybe in all of anime, definitely in all of Dragon Ball. The most heart-wrenching episode ever was the last episode of GT. But the counter argument was that people felt like Dragon Ball GT was more so a parody of Dragon Ball and didn't really bring its own weight, pull its own weight to the table. Basically saying that it didn't really stand on its own 2 feet. And to be honest with you, in my opinion, it was never going to feel that way. Not with how popular Dragon Ball was and still is to this day. I gotta keep reminding y'all, GT directly followed the events of Z. And I'm not talking about like in Dragon Ball timeline, I'm talking about like in real life. And to be honest with you, as time goes on, it's not as bad as everybody made it seem. It's just that it's not at those peak standards that we have seen before. And this type of stuff, you know, mixed reactions from the fan base, mixed reactions from the old people of the fan base talking about the new stuff. This happens all the time. Pokemon, Star Wars, hell, even in sports, people have this same type of conversation. This new thing isn't as good as the old new thing. It's not exactly that the quality is worse or that it is worse. In some cases, it is factually better than the old stuff. It's just that when compared to those super nostalgic highs, it was never gonna come out pleasing people anyways. When you remember the nostalgia of something, you only remember the heights and what it was and at its peak greatest moments. You don't remember the fact that there was a really slow episode with no clear direction at one point. Comparing something against nostalgia, you're only comparing it to how you felt at the time. But that's for a whole nother video. As for this video, is Dragon Ball GT canon? The Dragon Ball fan inside of me says yes, because I actually like Dragon Ball GT. They played it in the afternoons. It was not a Saturday morning type cartoon. It was played like in the afternoons, like a Boomerang or something like that. And I remember that intro banging. Hopefully I'm playing some of it right now if I can find it. The music was great. And it was just the fact that I was able to see returning characters from Dragon Ball Z continue their story. And remember, this was during the time before Super, so there was a whole Dragon Ball drought for the longest time. So seeing something like GT after reading Dragon Ball and all this stuff, it's very refreshing. Of course, I didn't watch the episodes in order. I was at the whim of whatever was on cable TV at the time. But at the end of the day, it was Dragon Ball. After reading Dragon Ball, after reading Dragon Ball Z, we got GT, and then in a few years, we got Super. So I remember GT very positively. That doesn't go for everybody though. But the logical side of me says that GT can't be canon because Super has just become too grandiose. But then again, Super becoming grandiose might just help GT, because then you could just say, hey, universe 14 is the universe where GT took place. Plain and simple. That was done. That was easy. And to be honest with you, I really do think that they're gonna do something like that. But what do you think in the comments below? Thank y'all for watching this video. Thank y'all for supporting the channel. I am working hard to get more content out for y'all. More anime content, more gaming content, more anime and gaming opinions. I got y'all. Hop into the streams, everybody. Hop into the streams. Me and Dex be playing Pokemon. We're gonna be doing scary, spooky streams. We're gonna be doing a whole bunch of stuff for the month of October and for the rest of the year. I'm gonna just be real with you right here. But yeah, for the people who have been hopping in the streams, I see y'all and I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Leave a like on the video, please. It helps the channel out a lot. Leave a comment. Tell me how you feel about GT, honestly, because there's a lot of mixed opinions on this across the whole fan base, across anime. There's a whole lot of mixed opinions about GT. Thank y'all for everything. Thank y'all for enjoying the last video and supporting that one. Please support this one. Spread love, give inspiration in all you do, and peace out. I'll be back.
Welcome to the Crash Show. Take 2.